Christine, you're producing your way. You're bringing up clips.
You're doing your thing. You're a girl about town.
What are we going to do a Bonfire musical?
Yeah.
The Christine song where she goes,
Christine, you're more than a YouTube jockey. You're a producer of the show. Executive producer Christine. I can see it now. I'm gonna be somebody big.
well, guess what, boys? The videos don't play themselves.
Pause, start, stop, finish. It's all the same to you.
I'm in a tornado of commands.
Jacob's gone and Lou is drunk and Black Lou's doing something on social media.
And I'm alone in the light.
Just a girl getting coffee for some people in the office.
Donkey laughs. Donkey laughs.
Well, I actually had the pleasure of opening for you, Brian, at Caroline's before you jumped, made the theater jump. The last one, such a funny moment. I think I told you this on Oddball Tour, but they told me, they're like, you want to work with Brian Regan this week? And I went, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And Caroline's goes, but you have to be like squeaky clean. And I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out, like for sure. And on the very first show was I was going squeaky clean, and there's a guy in the audience. Just I think he was gone before you even got on stage, but like he was just giving it to me. We were just going, and I was trying to like go back at him with like, this guy's being a real jerk, huh? I bet you. I'm trying to be clean. I'm like, yeah. Why don't you go home and have sex with a man?
Clean comebacks.
Yeah.
Clean,
Look at this
dirty.
weirdo.
Yeah. Cool shirt, jerk. This guy's a real jerk.
I came back in the green room, and it was great. I told you that. And my favorite thing about this story, I thought was the coolest thing ever, was you went, you could curse. It doesn't matter to me. Like you, the club came down so hard. I was like, sir, you are a real bad guy. You, I don't like the kind of person you are at all. Talking loud.
You seem like a filthy man, a bad man. I opened for Nate Bargatze in West Virginia, and he was like, hey man, you got to be clean. And I always kind of thought that thing of like, how clean do you have to be? So I cut out all my curse words, but I said "God damn," and a woman in the second row just goes, "He said GD," and that fucked with me.
Yeah,
that just threw me into a tailspin because I was like, "What else?" In my head, all I could think when I was for the rest of the set was, "What other words are bad that I don't know are bad?"
Well, I do like to work with people who are not super dirty in front of me, but I don't like to censor people.
Yeah,
sure.
So there's a difference between booking somebody who works clean and asking somebody who you just booked, hey, you have to work clean tonight.
Yeah, because
I don't like throwing that on people. I don't want to censor.
Sure.
I don't want to censor you.
Right. No, for sure.
Know what I mean?
That's what I loved about when we talked in the back. You were like, yeah, I wouldn't tell you how to do it, which I thought was such a cool thing.
That is a very cool thing.
I had another comic before who was just, I worked with him before he went on the theaters, and it always blew my mind when I went on stage. I wasn't very dirty, but when I got off stage, he asked me to come in the back to go, I need you to be squeaky clean. And it was one of those, like, this guy was getting ready to go huge, too. So the audience was so excited when he touches the stage, it wouldn't have mattered what happened. And
yeah.
Same thing, with you, Brian. I don't think I've ever told you a story that, because I was so mortified as a young kid. That same weekend, you know this, don't you?
I know this story, and this is a great story.
I mean, it's a terrible story.
It's
but
a terrible
great story,
but the fact that Brian's on the show and you could tell it to him, I think you've told the story before on the
I'm sure
on the show, but it's a thing of being opening for someone and having just a fucking colossal.
It's a real story of the beware who you tell. Like, yeah, I'll get you and your friends or whoever into the show.
Right.
When I first got to New York, just trying to find work that wasn't difficult, and also as a fat insecure guy, I tried to get a job at a weird strip club right across the street from Caroline's. I think it was more of a whorehouse. No booze, and it was just very bizarre, small place. And the women in there were scraggly. But when I went in there and talked to the guy and told him I was a comedian, I became friendly with the bartender guy. Mm-hmm. And he would come see me do comedy shows once in a while. The guy who owned the place was a much more seedy gentleman. He was a guy.
If you can believe that.
Yeah, and I said it was
the expression.
It was funny.
Seedy gentleman.
I'm pretty. I'll go into a dark, weird place with things and think things are interesting or even as dirty is great. However, this guy would just do a thing when the girls walk by. It was a very like, look at this new one, like like grab an ass cheek or it was very odd. But they asked me when you were in town if they can come see the show. So I said, they're probably sold out. But Caroline's was nice to me, and they gave him 4 tickets. He goes, we're also going to bring, there's 4 of us.
It's great watching. I'm just watching Brian's face process. You say, you go, so this is one of the worst human beings I've ever met.
Yeah.
Well, I brings 3 wild cards.
It was more.
You're headlining.
It was more the bartender brought 3 people, one of them being the owner and 2 of the girls, but I did not know it was going to happen. Where do they sit them? Front and center.
Oh, no.
You know what? But I can say this. It's like the Ghost of Christmas Future. That show's in the past. Don't worry, Brian. This isn't happening right
I'm getting
now.
an anxiety attack now. They're going, how am I going to handle this? And it happened like many years ago.
What am I opening with?
I've watched 100+ sets of yours from TV to live to that weekend. I've never seen, in the middle of one of your bits, you just broke and were like, Miss, like you're how rude you're being. You gave her like a talking to, which was legitimately. And I'm watching it in the back going like, I'm like,
did
oh
you?
my God.
I'm out of show business.
I'm like, this is going to be so, like the club is going to be like, I mean, they couldn't have a piece of paper on their thing that says more guests of Jay Oakerson.
Could you see? Now, Brian's on stage, and you're in the back. And for those that don't know, Caroline's, it's like a back, and then it's a hallway. So you're actually around the corner. So you're listening to Brian on stage. Mm-hmm. Did you know when he broke his bit that he was talking to the people you brought?
100%. There was no one else that could have possibly been. It was an audience that was all there to see him specifically.
Yeah.
Sold out. They put my guests for some reason right in the front of people that were like, I guess, like it's like we're gonna come see. They were more going for like the hookup of me, like getting them stuff.
Because when you said earlier that they wanted to come see the show, I immediately thought, I don't think this.
Fan.
They were coming to see my show. They were just going to see a comedy show.
I don't think they're a fan of mine. As I'm not worried about them hearing this at all.
I don't think this guy that was pawing on these young women go, man, I want to hear jokes about donuts.
He goes, come here.
These wholesome donut sprinkle jokes.
He goes, come here, baby. You ever heard a good Pop-Tart joke? She's like, I don't know. I like Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, well, I got your guy.
Can you, when you're on stage.
Have I got a guy for you, Tip Grabs?
Yeah. When you're
like jokes about station wagons?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
I got the guy for you.
When you're on stage.
He goes, I like my horse filthy and my comedy clean.
Yeah. He goes, oh, man, nothing gets me than a good, clean observation and a good, dirty girl.
And he says something astute like, it's all about the juxtaposition of life. You know what I mean?
You know what, dude? Francis,
so
I didn't want to
great.
say this about you. You're balanced. You own a whorehouse and are on the board of St. Jude's. Do you know when you're on stage, can you feel, because at this point you know what an audience feels like that's there to see you. When something like that is in the front row, can you, like I was just at the Albany Funny Bone.
It's got to be baffling at that point.
Yeah,
you know
that's what I'm saying. Can you tell?
To back up, I think I remember that night.
Oh, you probably do. I'll tell you why.
I remember
This story's
being at
not over.
Caroline's, and there was a woman in the front who was like just out of control. And
It was a prostitute that I brought.
Well, I didn't-
I'm sorry. I don't know if I ever properly apologized for that.
I didn't do the what do you do for a livings? I would have known. You know.
Also,
oh, I'm a prostitute. Oh, well.
how great is it to find out that a heckler years later was just a bad person?
It's not even. Well, the best part of the story is yet to come in a moment. Was all I can't wait for now is the show to be over so I can go out and I'm going to yell at these guys like out in the hall, in the lobby for like, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, I got you in here as a guest. Like you're making me look like an asshole. It takes forever for them to come out, and then just the guys end up coming out. I didn't go out there, I guess, fast enough, and the guys come out and they're right away. They're like, "Sorry, man, we're really sorry." And I go, "Yeah, man, you should be sorry." I go, "That's crazy. I got you. I give them the speech I have prepared. I hooked you guys up, and then you're gonna just talk during the show." And he goes, "Talk? Oh, you weren't in there for the very end, were you?" I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "A lady some sweet lady fan of yours said to one of the prostitutes, she goes, 'Wow, thank you. You really ruined that show for me.'" And then this Puerto Rican prostitute was just like bit and just decked her in the face.
Oh.
And then they had, and they go. So they were already removed.
It's getting worse.
Yes,
and worse.
it's worse.
Watch his face go like this. He's listening and he goes, "Oh,
Oh my God!" And then the knives came out.
you don't remember this?" So then the woman said,
Yeah, there was a monkey knife fight pit in the lobby they'd set up.
Oh my
You
God!
think Jay would have stopped picking up strays after that? No.
That was not my last dance.
He's invited some gnarly characters.
Do you-
into our
So the
lives.
next night, I invite.
So now we're to Friday.
He goes, "I'm under the Manhattan Bridge. I'm talking to some real sketchy fellows." I go,
They seem cool though. I'm doing a show tonight. If you want to get some free tickets,
I would say go to the early one.
Oh, I
4
had
tickets.
I had a 4-person guest list, and it was the 4 people that legitimately
That
made
is
the
crazy.
show horrible.
I did not know this story.
You don't get crazy people at your shows now, right?
Not usually. No. Especially if I'm performing somewhere where that's why you would be coming. I'm like, I'm not in a comedy club, so if I'm in a venue where you'd be coming there to see me.
Yeah.
And also with theaters too, like the drinking's not constantly coming around to you. It's not money made off there's money made, but it's not a bar business.
Right.
Once you're in the theaters too, which makes people not get so annihilated, which is generally what fucks up.
When do you think the last time like a stack of fries was served at one of your shows?
When's the last somebody really ripped into a ribeye while you were?
Yeah, who's the last time to dunk a chicken finger in front of you?
I remember being at Caroline's one time, and this is when I was at the tail end of doing the comedy clubs, and there was a guy at the front table, same table that your guests sat at.
Some say it's haunted.
They think it's a possessed table.
That's right, it's a possessed table.
They're afraid
Every
to move
story
it.
has to do with this one table. And it was a guy, heavy-set guy, and I was doing pretty good. And the front table, you can see, they're in the pool of light. And waitress brought a cheeseburger in front of him and set the cheeseburger down. And his eyes, like, rolled into the back of his head, and the cheeseburger immediately became the headliner.
Yeah.
And he like completely stopped looking at me and just turned and spent about 10 minutes just loving every moment of that cheeseburger. And it wasn't, and I just remember laughing to myself going, this is so bizarre.
Yeah.
You know, like it's comedy to a point, and then you're doing comedy over people eating. And then when he was done with his cheeseburger, he like slid it away and looked back up at me as if, all right, back to you.
That is.
I say
back
that
to you,
out loud.
clown.
I say that out loud on stage almost every weekend. At least at one show where I just look down and I just see somebody exactly cutting into a wedge salad or something. You're like,
feeling-
why would you have something that's going to cover the table in bacon pieces?
To me, the thing that doesn't make sense is I can get over the food and the drink. It's when people are doing group long division while I'm trying to do a bit, and they have the checks, and they're like, you just watch that math happen, and you're like, I can't win in this.
You
Like
want to say one of you pay the tab
when that
and
happened-
work it out later.
Yeah.
Work it out later. But to figure it out there is the most insulting thing as a performer. Going, really? And you can hear him going, no, you. I ordered the second beer, but then I canceled it.
Yeah.
So I think you triple charged us for a shot.
You know what I was getting heckled by this weekend was what you couldn't even tell what they were saying. It was just. And you go, are you guys good over there? And they go, we're just figuring it out. Just you keep going.
Yeah, don't worry about us. I say, could you imagine if you went to a Broadway play, right? And in 20 minutes before it's over, some guy crouched down next to you and said, it's $75 a piece.
That's right.
It's absurd.
It's in the
but that's what happens in a comedy club every night.
a crescendo of some.
Yeah,
fucking
they're
outrageous
digging in
song.
their pockets while you're watching the final act of a Shakespearean
That's
play.
the beauty of the theater, though, is like they said again, they're always coming to see like you particularly, or from recommendation, whatever it is, you know, they're coming to see a comedy show where I mean, like bombing or just hearing silence in a room and hearing the sounds of, you know, a guy pulling gristle out of his mouth to wrap it in a napkin or something, or just, you know, just the sounds of fries being like pulverized by teeth. It's jarring.
I still hear it sometimes. I heard when it goes completely silent, you just hear someone swishing around ice cubes, like you're impressing a Bond, like you're impressing a Bond villain.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Is that all you have, Mr. Bond?" Yeah.
And like you look at him like, you don't hear that? You don't hear what you're doing? You know,
There's like, you suck. I don't know. Maybe make me like you more.
I went to a years ago. I was on vacation and went to like this little town. Like they had a play, you know, like a local community play, and it was all these long tables with chairs, and whoever put on the play, it was just like in this old wooden, like rustic structure, and but it's fun to see stuff like that. Well, they put bowls of Chex Mix throughout the entire theater. So everybody sits down and all you're hearing is and I'm like, who approved this? The whole play, people were chewing on Chex Mix.
They go, you know what adds to Shakespeare? Loud bar snacks.
Yeah.
If we could get-
Put some licorice nibs in that bowl or something, man.
How about something soft chew? A soft chew anything. Even a Charleston chew.
The chairs were like metal, you know, metal. It was
Yeah.
a concrete floor, so anybody that sat down or got up to use the restroom was.
Sounds like a prison visitation.
and then when they did sit down, man, this is a great production.
You guys really sussed this room out.
Do you remember in your early days, like just hell gigs still to this? I mean, I started in the black comedy circuit, so I have so many just from being the one white guy in a place that would go haywire, but then let alone then jumping into like the open mic scene and performing in basements of places or places they don't think you should have a microphone even.
You guys know Betty's Fireside? Betty's Fireside was a gig in New Jersey, and it was notorious for being a rough room. And I had heard about it before I even moved to New York City. And so I kind of looked forward to eventually playing Betty's Fireside.
Yeah.
Betty's Fireside was a place where they had like a band, and then in front of the band was the bartenders, and then the bar, and then the audience. The audience was all standing. So for comedy night, nobody was seated. It was just packed with people. Yeah. And I heard that the room can be rough. So they wanted me to be the first comedian. So I said, all right, fine. And I said, who does the offstage intro? And they looked at me like I was from another planet. Offstage intro.
This guy. Fucking, what do you think you are? Where are you? What do you think you are? You think you're in the
Saunter
there's
up
another
there.
microphone somewhere?
Oh, I'm sorry, Liberace. We couldn't get the chandelier down for you to play your tunes.
I'm sorry, that guy's lighting the candelabra right now.
I don't know what I was thinking. And I said, well, how does the show start? They said, you just get on stage and start the show. So I was going to be the first of the three comedians. And I said, all right. And I thought I had like enough chops where I could handle a rough room. And so I just start walking up the steps to get on the stage. And this guy from the corner in the back yells, you suck! And I'm not at the mic yet, so I can't defend myself. So I have to like look and wink, like, "Hey, I'll get to you in a second."
Hang tight, bud.
Hang on, I gotta get to the microphone.
You have to give a politician point where you go, I hear what you're saying.
I hear
and
you.
I'm gonna...
Give me a second. I gotta get to the sound system.
There are issues, sir.
So I'm still walking to the mic, and a guy from the other side said, "We think you suck from over here too." So I was like double-barreled, and I got to the mic and tried to nice guy it, which was the worst move.
Yeah.
You know,
smell
like,
the fear.
Oh man, like I hit with the angle of, "Hey, come on, fellas, come on, I've got some lighthearted comedy jokes I'd like to share with you."
You verbally put your hands on your hips. You went,
Guys, stop it.
Boys.
boys, yelling is bad.
Yeah, that's not right. Come on, guys, you know that's not right.
Yeah.
And they just buried me. And it was one of the first times that I didn't do my entire time. Everybody was supposed to do a half hour. And I'm on stage 10 minutes in, and I'm going, this ain't doing anybody any good. Me doing a half hour ain't doing anybody any good. You know what I mean?
The guy after you's got more to clean up.
Yeah, the guy who was following me, like he's going to watch 30 minutes of this. He's going to leave, you know?
There is that funny thing when you're watching someone have a rough time in front of you, and a part of you is like, you know, you feel terrible for me, but then it's like, oh man, if they jump like early, it's like it's gonna throw the whole thing off. You know, like that's got to be a scary thing.
There's been times where I've watched people eat it so hard that you want them to jump early. You want to be like, get off, come on.
No, I know that's what I'm saying, because you don't want them to like have to
Poison
do the
the
full
room.
time of like, man, this crowd
exactly.
might start. The people who don't know me are gonna come in here thinking like, this might be this the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's amazing still, I was just at the Albany Funny Bone, which is in a mall, and you really look out and you're like, 30% of you are here to see me, and everyone else just got a coupon. The MC this weekend goes, there was I was coming home on Sunday, and I was like, are you staying for the Sunday show? And he goes, no, it's a hypnotist. And I was like, oh, yeah. That's like a Sunday show at a club.
Right.
And he goes, you ever open for a hypnotist? I was like, yeah. You haven't? And he was like blown away. You forget all the crazy shit that you open
Well,
for.
all these mall clubs, it really is add to the ridiculous menu eating. Now add like 4 bags from Foot Action USA, like Claire's.
I filled in for a comedy hypnotist.
Yeah.
And nobody told me or the audience. Wait, they were waiting for you. They thought that I was going to do comedy hypnosis, and I just ate it for an hour. And I walked off stage, and you get that flop sweat, and the first thing you want to do is go to the bar and get yourself a double Jack and Ginger or something. And somebody came up to me and said, how come you didn't make us act like chickens, And I'm like,
they were all waiting to be hypnotized.
What are you talking about? And they showed me the table tent that was on every table, comedy hypnosis night. Nobody knew, including me.
It said, relax your minds and prepare for comedy.
More than a quarter of the people in the audience after 20 minutes was like, this guy's really long on the foreplay.
Yeah.
This guy really,
Are we supposed to be paying attention to key words? Have I been asleep for 10 minutes and I don't even know it?
Has he been programming us with these stories?
Yeah. All this goofy, the station wagon thing. Maybe now we start making chicken noises.
Do you think we're gonna wake up in a station wagon? We've been there the whole time. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. But it was like this innocent question when the MC asked that, where he was like, "Have you opened for hypnotists?" You're like, "Oh, buddy, I've opened for a silent clown, and his wife plays the piccolo." And then what I like is then when you meet a comic that's been around the road, they're like, "Oh, TC Hatter's still out there?" You're like, "Oh, fuck." You really forget as a comedian.
That was my favorite thing ever. Was Chips Cooney. He was featuring for me in Philly once, or outside of Philly, and as he was tying his key, he goes, "So what have you been up to?" I said, "I just opened for Dave Attell on the Insomniac tour on the East Coast." And he goes, "Yeah?" He goes, like theaters and stuff? I go, "Yeah, it was like a bunch of theaters." As he's tying his magician's cape, he goes, "Oh, I'm good to see that kid's doing theaters now." And then he ran back in the room, 30 minutes later in his underwear with a fake shit stain in it, holding his tuxedo in his hands, and he goes, "Hot crowd." He goes, hot crowd. The thing about opening for or subbing for somebody who you didn't know you were subbing for, that was always the best with the Black Circuit ski trip shows.
Yeah.
They would book them and get these high budgets because they would be like Chris Tucker and Martin Lawrence are coming, and then they would get the budget and then pay me and whoever I wanted to bring like $700, and you'd get there and you'd be like, "Hey, we're the comedians." And go, "I thought Chris Tucker was going." It was like not that level, but it was like they always thought it was names from like Def Jam that were coming, and it was like, no, not only is it not them, it's also 2 white guys who didn't know this is what was happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just go almost nightmarish every time.
That's rough.
I mean, that's just got to be promoters just being like, "Oh, we could."
It's them snagging money. Yeah, they're getting like $10,000 budgets and paying out $700.
Man,
if you would do 2 in a night, you'd get like 1,000. I don't want to hold you up here too long. I know you had a long day of stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're a legend. You're hilarious.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, man.
I appreciate,
man. Appreciate the kind words, and thanks for bringing back the horrific memories of the.
I'm so excited on a radio show.
Yeah.
I'm so excited on a radio show that I was able to tell you that. It's such a thing. It's my number one story of like, you gotta watch who you invite to a show, man.